everybody, this is a quick tutorial for Rift DPS as Inquisitor. So most of you already know me, not that huge of a deal, but there are new specs and new rotations. So the one I've currently got set up is 61 in Quiz, 10 in Kabbalist, and 5 in Defiler. If you don't have Defiler, you can just put it in any other damage soul like Druid or Shaman. You can also put it in souls like Justicar, because that will give you passive regen on hit. So that's good for survivability, but it's not that great for raids. This is mostly set up to be wisdom and damage over time. Yeah, you either stack damage if you're under-geared, or you stack wisdom if you are fairly geared. I'd say if you're mostly tier 1, go ahead and just stack wisdom. Alright, anyway. First thing you need to know, very important skills to use that I have not seen enough people using. Very last one down here. This is where DPS comes from. This is where it lives. And you'll see why in a minute. First, all the important buffs will be mostly in the Justicar, or the Inquisitor abilities. You want to get Armor of Awakening, Shroud, Spiritual Scrutiny, and Spiritual Protection. From Defiler, you're going to get Rage, Blight, and Blighted Greed. Put Blighted Greed on the tank. If you don't have it, not a big deal. And in Kabbalist, the only thing in Kabbalist you're going to use is Curse of Discord. I know Dark Water gives you more DPS, but like the timing you have to do to get Dark Water stacks on in a raid, it's not going to happen with all the AoEs and the new ads spawning. You can't keep it up. Oh, but if you can, by all means, go for it. Alright, so the basic rotation for this would be Spiritual Deficiency first. You're going to have a macro with Aggressive Renewal and Bolt of Judgment. So you're going to spam 5 Bolt of Judgments at the beginning of the fight. Tank get some aggro before you start pulling out some pretty crazy DPS. And then you're going to get Bolt of Depravity reactive, which you have macroed with Fanaticism. All the macros will be in the description or the bottom, depending on how this works out. So you're going to go ahead and cast that, and then you can add your dots and cast Nazars. So after Nazars, you will get another Bolt of Depravity, and then refresh with Radical Coalescence. You'll get another Bolt of Depravity, and then you can cast Nazars again. And why you do this is because this entire combo takes 15 seconds from when you add the dots. So the dots would have fallen off just right now. So you re-add dots, which will give you another bolt. And this gives you 8 stacks of Echoing Concord. You want to use Aggressive Renewal whenever it's up, by the way. So you're going to cast your stacks, add dots whenever they're up. They should be coming up after the third one in the second 5-minute. So now is when you add your dot. And it will give you 2 more casts. You get another bolt, you can cast it 2 more times. And then you just start spamming Bolt of Judgments, wait for the dots, wait for the cooldowns, stuff like that. When done at full speed, this lines up pretty well. And that's basically the entire rotation. It's just raid awareness, mostly. Like, if you know there's going to be an interrupt in 5 seconds, don't cast, or don't start using like the huge one, just spam bolts and not spam Nazars until after the interrupt, if it's your turn. other than that, there's not really much to say. If you know there's big AoE damage coming out, you can always pop Judicial Privilege, which will give you 10% of your max life back every time you're hit. Makes your healers happy, makes you happy. If you need knockback, you can use Excommunicate if you're doing IDH and you can't burn down the last boss and you need to defend. You can actually save Radical Coalescence and use Excommunicate on 2 different targets. So you could potentially save the guild, or the raid. Doesn't have to be a guild raid, but yeah. If you're taking too much damage and the healer's busy with the tank, just go ahead and pop Harsh Discipline. It'll heal you up for a little bit. It'll keep you up maybe a couple extra seconds, but it's better than nothing. The reason you don't cast Harsh Discipline all the time is because it's a channel ability. But Aggressive Renewal isn't. You can cast while Aggressive Renewal is casting, but you can't do that with Harsh Discipline. And that is basically it. So one more time, 5 bullets. Then Fanaticism combo, and I'll show you all the macros at the end. Dots. Nazers. And a bolt. Oh, and you always want to start off the fights with Spiritual Deficiency. I didn't do it here, but yeah, once every minute. Or if you have a debuffer in the group, they will take over that. But anyway. The combo works pretty well. You could almost kill test dummies with it. Oh, and I should mention, in real time, this gives you a 10% damage buff. So, both of your Fanaticism combos and Nazers will hit for extremely large amounts of damage. And so will your dots and your first few bolts. I think it's first 3, if you get the timing off right. It adds so much DPS. Another trick to getting the maximum amount of DPS. If you go into your settings and go to interface and action bar, you can put ability queue on full, and that way if you hit a button twice, let's say this macro over here, if I hit it twice, one right after the other, it will cast the next available thing. You can see it gives it a little timer, so if I do 2 and 3, like right after each other, it gives it that little thing to highlight that skill's going to cast max. It might not seem like a big deal, but you can actually add a lot of DPS by not having long pauses, and through long fights it really adds up. I've seen people grow like 2k DPS just from toggling that on. Alright, and here are the macros. I'll put them in either the description of the video or the comments below. Also, you have a immunity to fear or stuns if you upgrade it, which you should, because it's good. You're just gonna cast it on yourself every 2 minutes. It can really help out in fights like Crucia, where if you forget to look away, you're basically dead if your break free's on cooldown. Another macro for this class is somewhere over here. I have a lot of macros. So many. Alright. Your dots. You're gonna cast Sanction, and then you're gonna cast Scourge. The reason it's in this order is because Sanction has a 15-second cooldown, and all your other dots also last 15 seconds. So when Sanction's off cooldown, that's when you know your dots need to be reapplied. So that's just a helpful tip. Alright, you are going to do this, whenever you get stunned or CC'd, break free will become available to you, and that's why it's at the top. You can put it at the bottom if you want to, it doesn't really matter the order. And the Fanaticism combo should be around here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Or here's one of them. I have two, apparently. That's fine. But this is what you should have. When Fanaticism and Bolt of Depravity hit, everything will take more damage for a certain amount of time. And it stacks with the other debuffs, like this one. So in total you could be doing like 12 to 14% more damage. And that's why you always start with this and then you go into this. Okay, and I think that is it. Yeah, Confound is your interrupt, and Bewilder is your fear. You can fear smaller trash mobs if you really need to. I don't recommend using Trepidation because once they're damaged, they break free of it. Not helpful at all. Unless you're, like, running away in PvP. Another thing to mention, though, when dealing with groups, you can pop Fanaticism and then Soul Drain. And it will make all the hits of Soul Drain crit. So you'll hit 3 enemies 4 times for 6,000 damage that crit. So it'll be about 10,000. So 40,000 damage on 3 targets. Or on 4 targets, my bad. 3 enemies near the target. And I think that's it. Alright.